Good morning, afternoon, or evening. How y'all doing today? Welcome back to Mr. Morrow's Algebra 2 class. And today we're going to talk about absolute value equations and inequalities. And absolute value, guys, is the distance from zero. So being that it is a distance, it is a positive value. Always remember that, please. Absolute value is represented by the symbol here that is shown. It looks like two parallel lines. Whatever's inside of those, inside of that symbol, comes out as a positive. Okay? Solving absolute value equations is very easy, but you must remember that an absolute value has a positive and a negative side. Okay, there's two sides to that coin. For example, if I give you the absolute value of x is 3, you have two possibilities for that answer. It could be 3 or negative 3. Now, the question that a lot of people ask is why? How can that happen? Well, if x is 3, I am literally 1, 2, 3 away from 0. So my absolute value is 3. The distance is 3. If my x is negative 3, then I am literally 1, 2, 3 away from 0. So my distance is 3. And it's positive because, again, it's a distance. So the absolute value is a distance from 0. And a distance is always positive. Okay? No matter what, it's always positive. On a graph, you may see a negative distance. All right? If you're going to go, for example, let's say this is temperature, and you're going below 0 degrees. Okay, that's on my 0 degree mark. And I'm going below 0 degrees. And let's say I get to whatever, negative 20. Okay? Okay, negative 20, that's fine. But the distance from 0, the absolute value of that would be 20 degrees. If I go underwater 20 feet, yeah, on a graph I went negative 20. But my actual distance was 20 feet. You cannot go negative distances. It's just impossible. What if I go backwards? Fine, you went backwards, but you still went a positive distance. Does that make sense? All right, you good? You got a question, my man? Oh, thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, like, if you were walking 3 steps this way and then you walk 3 steps back, you walk 6 steps, right?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
That's a great question. Okay, you can't see this on the video, but you can understand what he's saying. Let's say you go 3 steps forward. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And you go 3 steps backwards. 1, 2, 3. In total, you went 6 steps. Now, you may say, wait a second, but you came back to where you started from. That's fine. But the absolute value, you went forward 3 and then backwards 3, but you went 6 steps in total because it's an absolute value. If I was talking about 3 units to the left on a number line, that's negative 3. Then 3 units to the right, that's positive 3. They'll cancel each other out. But when we're talking about absolute value, we're talking about a distance. That's a great question. So it doesn't matter if you go literal, I'm not being sarcastic, up, down, left, right, forward, backward, diagonal. Distance is always positive. Does that make sense, my brothers? We're good with that? Thank you, brothers. God bless you. Great question, sons. Okay, so knowing that absolute values have 2 sides makes it a lot easier, guys, to solve absolute value equations and inequalities. So let's get right to it, okay? I want the solutions of the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9. I want you to graph and check your solutions. Sometimes you will solve for values that do not work when evaluated, okay? You'll get an answer, you'll plug it back in, but it doesn't work. That is real, that happens, and it's called, whoa, why does my board do that? I know, it's crazy. And it is called an extraneous solution. Okay. So an extraneous solution is a solution, but it just didn't work. So it doesn't work, so you can't use it. But I have to see that you had both of those answers. Let's say the answers that you solved for were 5 and 12. When you plug the 5 back in, it works. When you plug the 12 back in, it doesn't work. That's your extraneous solution. Okay? So we're going to start easy, guys, and we'll go from there. The procedures here are very similar to most equations. You have a goal, and in this particular case, it's to solve for x. And before you can solve for x, you first want to isolate the absolute value. So to isolate the absolute value, you do not care about what's going on inside. That can be as complicated and nasty as you want it to, as it can be. Doesn't matter. What I'm talking about is all the external stuff. Is anything being added to the absolute value? Is anything being multiplied to the absolute value? Is anything being divided from the absolute value? You got to get rid of all that. You got to get it alone. So in this particular case, it's very simple. I only have a positive 2 being added to the absolute value. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 to both sides to give me now the absolute value of x equals 7. Now once we've done that, you're going to split the equation or inequality into the positive and negative sides, okay? Remember what we talked about. Every absolute value has the potential of having a positive and a negative side. So you're literally going to split it up. You're going to have the positive side, which is the exact mirror image. It's exactly what you see, but without the absolute value sign. And then the negative side, okay, you're going to multiply the non-absolute value by a negative, okay? Now, yesterday when I gave you guys a preview, I did something a little bit differently, and it seemed to really have a very positive reaction on your part. When you have the absolute value of x equals 7, you know that there's a positive and a negative side. So you could also just go like this. X equals 7, but it also equals negative 7. And then you can solve from there. I'm not going to dictate to you how to do it. I'm a creature of habit. I split it into my positive and my negative side, and I solve each individually. That's me. I'm not dictating to you. You have to do it that way. No, I don't really care. As long as you understand what you're doing, it's not going to be any skin off my nose. Okay? It's still the same work, still valid, still mathematically legal. So we're good. Then step 3, we're going to solve both equations, which in this case it's already solved. And then in step 4, we check our solutions or our answers and graph if required. Now, please remember that when you're splitting up into the negative side, whether you're splitting it up the way I normally do it, which is like this, or if you're splitting it up like that, please remember that whatever side you make negative, if it's an inequality, you have to flip the inequality sign. Okay? You have to flip the inequality sign because you're multiplying by a negative. So you're going to multiply the non-absolute value side by -1. Please note that if you are working with inequalities, you must flip the inequality sign, okay, of the negative side because you multiply by a negative. And that's, in a nutshell, how you solve for absolute value equations and graphs and inequalities. Any questions before we start doing some practice? Yes, sir, my brother. Hey, you're going to have 2 answers always. But now, one last thing I didn't do. I didn't check. So let's check. X is 7. What's the absolute value of 7? What's 7 plus 2? 9. It works. -7. What's the absolute value of -7? What's 7 plus 2? It works. They're both good. Both work. Everyone's happy. Yes, sir. Of course, sir. Absolutely. Okay, so let's continue, my brothers. Okay, starting from 100 feet away, your friend skates towards you and then passes you. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. Her distance d from you in feet after t seconds is given by the equation d equals the absolute value of 100 minus 20t. At what time is she 40 feet from you? Okay, let's analyze. Let's think, okay? Let's use our skills. I gave you a formula, d, which is the distance, equals absolute value of 100 minus 20t, where t is seconds, time in seconds. How do I solve for t here? Giving you what I gave you. What did I give you? Yes, sir, my brother. Either way, right? Either way. It doesn't really matter, yeah. Exactly. But thank you for that. Now, how do we set up this equation? Yes, sir. Thank you. 40 feet is a distance d, right, guys? So we've got, literally, just like you said, thank you, 40 equals the absolute value of 100 minus 20t. Now, I just want you guys to be honest with me, okay? Tell me what you guys like better, and I wanna cater this lesson to your needs. Again, me, I'm old-fashioned. I'm gonna go the positive side and a negative side. My positive side is the mirror image of this without the absolute value symbol. So I've got 100 minus 20t equals positive 40. My negative side, okay, I multiply the non-absolute value side by a negative. So I've got 100 minus 20t equals negative 40. Now, I am not opposed to the following. 100 minus 20t, it equals my positive side of 40 and my negative side of negative 40. And then you can solve from there. I don't care. I'm not being sarcastic. You need to make a choice. What do you like? Yes, sir. Okay, because like I said before, you don't touch what's inside of here. You cannot make that 100 plus 20t. No, sir. There's a positive side. This 100 minus 20t equals 40. That's the positive side of the absolute value. Or this 100 minus 20t equals negative 40. That's going to be the negative side of the absolute value. You never touch what's inside the absolute value like we had stated before. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, sir, my brother.
If 100 minus 20t is 40, wouldn't it be 40t?
It's not going to be 40t because t is going to be a value. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the value t that's going to make this equal 40, my brother. Thank you so much, my brother. Great questions, guys. Does this make sense? Now, let's think about it. I'm going to do it both ways, okay? But you need to decide what you want to do. So me, I'm going to go ahead and subtract my 100. And actually, the more I think about it, I like this way better. And I've got negative 20t equals negative 60 divided by negative 20 divided by negative 20, and t equals 3. So in 3 seconds, this will be a reality because 100 minus 20 times 3 is 60. 100 minus 60 is absolute value of 40. Absolute value of 40 is 40. Boom, that works. 3 seconds works. Next, I'm going to subtract my 100, and I'm going to get negative 20 equals negative 140 now, divided by negative 20. So t equals 7. 100 minus 140 is negative 40. Absolute value of negative 40 is 40. So this works as well. So my answer is 3 seconds and 7 seconds. Yes, sir.
Can you re-explain how you got 3 again?
Of course, my brother. I subtracted 100 to both sides. Then 40 minus 100 is negative 60. Then I divide it by negative 20. So negative 60 divided by negative 20, the zeros cancel and it'll be equal to 3. You got it? Thank you for your honesty.
I was going to add something, but then I just saw it, so I was like,
You sure? Thank you, my man. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Now, I'm starting to think that I like this way better, okay? Look how much easier this is, actually, in my opinion. I subtract 100, but I got to, let me just, hold on. And make this nice. So I subtract 100, but remember, I subtract 100 to every side. So that's going to give me negative 60 equals negative 20t, which equals negative 140. And yeah, this is a one-stop shop, guys. This is actually, I hate to evolve, to be honest with you. I don't like change. But I got to say, in this case, I think maybe Mr. Morrow should start changing. Because I think that's a little bit better, a little bit more efficient. But again, I will not dictate to you how to do it. Either of these works. Which do you like better, though? Be honest. The one on the right, right? Someone said the one on the left. Good. I was that dude. I need to see it. That's why I'm not going to judge or punish you guys. Either way you want to do it. Just be careful, though. Okay? Be careful if you do it this way. Especially with inequalities. Remember, The negative side, you gotta change the inequality, okay? Yes, sir, my brother.
So if that was an inequality, divide by the 20, flip.
You'd flip again once you divide it by the negative 20, yes, sir. If this was an inequality, you'd have to first make a change when you made the negative side. Then when you divide it by negative 20, another change. Yes, sir. Great question, son. Thank you. All right, let's look at this one. So I've got 3x minus 1 equals 8. Okay, what I'll do is I'll set it up both ways, but I'll solve it the way the majority of the class likes. Is that fair? All right, so positive, negative side, I've got 3x minus 1 equals 8. That's my positive. 3x minus 1 equals negative 8. That's my negative. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, guys, but this is faster. Or, I'll do this in red, you could go ahead and go 3x minus 1 equals my positive 8, and it equals my negative 8, because I got to make the positive and the negative side. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides, giving me 9 equals 3x, which equals negative 7, divided by 3, and booyah, we're done. X equals 3, and x also equals negative 7/3. Now I've been getting lazy, I haven't been checking, we got to check. If x equals 3, 3 times 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8, absolute value of 8 is 8, it works. Negative 7/3 times 3 is negative 7, negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8, absolute value of negative 8 is 8, it works. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Yes, sir, my brother. Okay, you could have written this as x equals 3 and x equals negative 2 1/3, 100%, sir. Absolutely. 100%. Does that make sense? Okay. Let us continue. All right. What are the solutions of 3 times absolute value of 2x plus 9 and absolute value plus 12 equals 10? Okay. Here, before you split it up into the quote-unquote easier way of solving, remember, you cannot do that. You can't even do my method of the positive and the negative side until what occurs? Until the absolute value is isolated. Thank you, brothers. So what's the first thing I'm going to do to get rid of this? Okay, subtract. No, not multiplication. Remember, undo addition, subtraction first. That's okay, man. That's why we have school. We learn. It's negative 2, okay? And then, now we divide by 3. Okay, now we start solving, right? Yeah? We start solving? Why don't we start solving? Thank you, my brother. Guys, can an absolute value ever equal a negative? Right off the bat, no solution. It's impossible. Now, be careful. Be careful. I have seen questions like this. Negative 2 times absolute value of x plus 9 equals negative 10. Don't you dare put absolute value yet. I mean, well, that was a stupid statement on my part. Don't you dare put no solution yet. Thank you. Sorry about that. No, not yet. You wait to determine if you can proceed or not once you've isolated the absolute value. In this case, I'm going to divide by negative 2. So I have x plus 9 equals 5. I can go on with this. You feel me here? So just because you see a negative does not mean squat. It's at the end. Just like in this example. We waited until we were done. Does that make sense, guys? So that occurs, and hey, I love it when that happens on an SAT, because that's literally a 3-second problem, if you know it. If not, people are going to start solving, and they'll get answers, but they're not going to work ever, because it's impossible. You can never have an absolute value equal a negative. Okay, next. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I have isolated this bad boy, but it equals a negative 2. An absolute value cannot equal a negative 2. No solution. Don't get spoiled. I'm not going to put 50 of those on the test, but you may have one or two. And then now here, how do I isolate my absolute value here, please, my brothers? You exactly right. Thank you, gentlemen. I love it. So I've got 2x minus 1 equals 9. Okay? Again, I'm going to do my old-fashioned way. Let me just go ahead and clone this. Okay? So I'm going to do my old-fashioned way. Give me one second. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. All right, so in this particular case, again, I can split it up into my positive mirror image and my negative. I multiply the non-absolute value side by a negative. Okay, and then solve. Or, since it's already isolated, 2x minus 1 equals 9, but it's also going to equal negative 9. Add 1. Divide by 2. So x will equal 5 or negative 4. And let's see if it works. 2 times 5 is 10 minus 1 is 9. Absolute value of 9 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. It works. Negative 2 times negative 4 is negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. Absolute value of negative 9 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. It works. Perfect. Okay. All right, now. Oh, wait, whoa, Mr. Morrow, what's going on here? Okay, here you can still do the whole positive and negative side all together on one equation. But in this one, it becomes a little bit more challenging. Okay? So let me explain. First of all, you still have to choose one side and isolate the absolute value on that side. In this case, the absolute values are both isolated. So me, for this one, I definitely go old-fashioned. I go x plus 11 equals 6x plus 17. That's my positive side. For my negative side, guys, choose which one you want to multiply by a negative. It really doesn't matter. Me, I stay consistent. My brain, I have to follow rules. In my brain, I stay consistent. So I always multiply it to the right side. Me, that's me. So I'm going to go 8x plus 11 equals negative times 6x plus 17. Please be careful to distribute that, gentlemen. Please be careful to distribute that. Yes, sir. Of course, you can write negative 6x minus 17, but I'm a teacher, so I'm trying to teach why you're doing that, sir. Thank you. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I can skip a lot of steps, guys. I can get to the answer in half the steps. Is that going to help you, though? Thank you, my brother. So now I'm going to solve this guy. Come on, Moral. 6x, 6x. So I've got 2x plus 11 equals 17. Subtract 11 to both sides. 2x equals 6. Divide by 2. X equals 3. And then here I've got 8x plus 11. And exactly like my boy said, this is negative 6x minus 17. I just want to show you you're multiplying that whole side by negative. You have to distribute the negative. I'm going to add 6x to both sides. So I've got 14x. Subtract 11 to both sides. Equals negative 28. Divide by 14. X equals negative 2. Now let's see if it works. When x is 3, I got 24 plus 11, so that's 35. Absolute value of 35 is 35. And 18 plus 17 is 35. It works. Negative 2, I got negative 16 plus 11, which is negative 5. Absolute value of that is 5. And then I've got negative 12 plus 17, which is 5. Absolute value of that is 5. They both work. X equals negative 2 and positive 3. For example 8, I'm going to show you how to do it this quote-unquote simpler way. Okay? This way we can have both views of how to solve it. And again, you can decide how to tackle these. I think you guys have decided how to tackle the other ones. Now let's see how you want to tackle these. Once they're alone, mind you, you could do this. X minus 3 equals the positive side of 2x plus 5. And it equals the negative side please be sure to distribute that negative. You can do this as well. So this is going to be 2x plus 5 equals x minus 3 equals negative 2x minus 5. Oh, you know what, guys?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, actually, no, you can't do this. Because you have this x, but if I add this x to here, I have to add it to, actually, no. So there's no shortcut with these, guys. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's fine. No big deal. So let's split it. You got your x minus 3 equals my positive side of 2x plus 5. Positive side, my negative side is x minus 3 equals negative times 2x plus 5. So here I'm going to subtract x to both sides. Negative 3 equals x plus 5. Subtract 5 to both sides. And negative 8 equals x. And over here, x minus 3 equals negative 2x minus 5. Add the 2x. Add the 3. So I've got 3x equals negative 2 divided by 3. X equals negative 2/3. Cool? Questions, comments, concerns? Because now I'm going to teach you the real important part of this. Yes, sir, my brother.
It doesn't matter which one it goes into. Negative 8 both x is going to work.
Correct. Let's check it. It's negative 8. Negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. Absolute value of negative 11 is 11. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. Plus 5 is negative 11. Absolute value of negative 11 is 11. So that one works. Okay, negative 2/3. Negative 2/3 minus 3 is negative 3 2/3. Absolute value of that is 3 2/3. Negative 2/3 times 2 is negative 4/3. Negative 4/3 plus thirds plus 5. This goes to 3. That goes to 15. That's net. That's 11/3. Absolute value of 11/3 is 11/3. And 11/3 is 3 2/3. So they both work. Thank you for checking. Thank you for caring. Does that make sense, boys? Okay, now, the most important part of this, word problems. Not just for the SAT or the ACT. Yeah, it's nice for that. But this is really used a lot in business. Okay? And it's just a logical way to think about how to get what's called variances or change in production or cost. A company makes boxes of crackers that should weigh 213 grams. A quality control inspector, by the way, that's a really good job. Very good technical job. You got to be on point, but it's a very good job. You get paid a lot of money by multi-million and billion-dollar companies to make sure that the products are going out the right way, with the right weight, the right dimensions, you know. So a quality control inspector randomly selects boxes to weigh. Any box that varies from the weight by more than 5 grams is sent back. So the goal is 213, but if you get a box of cereal that weighs 230, that's way too much free cereal they're going to give. They're not going to do that. They're going to recall that box. They will repackage that cereal. Okay? So any box that varies from weight by more than 5 grams is sent back. What is the range allowable? What is the range allowable weights for a box of crackers? Okay. You always want to set up an absolute value problem using this formula when we're talking about word problems. All right, when you're doing that, you want to use the following word problem. It's the absolute value of x minus the desired goal. Okay? It's x minus what you want, what it has to be, what the goal is, what the desired amount is. It's x minus what it should be. Is less than or equal to the change. Sometimes this change is called, it's not called that crazy symbol, it's called a variance. Sometimes it's called an allowance. Okay? It's the amount that it can change plus or minus. Hence, since it's a plus or minus change, you're going to put it into absolute value. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So, for this particular example, a company makes box of crackers. I should weigh 213 grams. What is the desired goal here? 213. So, X minus 213 is less than or equal to, what's the allowable change? What's the allowable variance? 5 grams. That's it. So now, X, sorry about that, guys. So now, let's try this again. I could split it up. X minus 213 is less than or equal to 5. That's my positive side. Or my negative side, X minus 213 is greater than or equal to negative 5. Please notice what I did there. Why did I change the sign? I flipped it. I multiplied by a negative, okay? Or, I know you guys are itching to see the easy way. You can go X minus 213 is less than or equal to 5, because that's how you read the original one. But it's also greater than or equal to negative 5. That incorporates your negative side. Do you see that? If you want to go this route with the compound inequality, there's no problems with that. But do you understand what I did there? If you don't understand what I did there, just stick to the original way, guys. Worst case, don't trap yourself up. So now I add 213 to both sides. So X can be less than or equal to 218, but it must be greater than or equal to 208. If I'm a quality control inspector, as long as the cracker boxes are within those weight parameters, it is good. Does that make sense? Questions on that? Of course I can, son. Actually, I may block all that out. Let me just go dual page here. And then while he's writing that one down, why don't you guys do me a favor and try to do number 12 on your own. I'm going to pause it for a second. Try to do it on your own. Okay, so it looks like everyone understood this very well. And I'm just going to basically do what I'm told here. Can you tell me what to do here, guys? What do I do? How do I set this up? Yes, sir. Okay, X minus 32, because that is my desired. Less than or equal to 0.5, because that is my change or variance. How did you do it, my man? Do you split it up into the positive or negative, or do you do it all as one? Okay, you split it up. That's fine. Again, guys, there's no shame, no worries at all. So I've got X minus 32 is less than or equal to 0.5, and I've got X minus 32 is, good job, son, greater than or equal to negative 0.5. Add the 32, add the 32, X is less than or equal to 32.5, add the 32, add the 32, X is greater than or equal to 31.5. So X is greater than or equal to 31.5, but less than or equal to 32.5. And that is the allowable error for this manufacturer of pasta. Does that make sense? Any questions at all, brothers? Because we are done. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and I hope you learned a lot. God bless you all.